Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with yet another in Naxos' ongoing releases of the Vox catalog, some of the most rewarding of which was recorded in St. Louis. And here is one of them. Dvořák's concertos. There was a series, all of his concerted music, and I have it all here. We're going to cover it, but this is the cello concerto featuring Zara Nelsova cello. She was a wonderful cellist. She really was. You know, Nelsova was one of the first great female cellists. There were a few. There were a couple that preceded her, but basically, ladies were not usually cellists, largely because for most of the 19th century, the idea of seeing a woman performing with an instrument between her legs was considered offensive, at the very least offensive. Anyway, there weren't so many lady cellists. There were a few. Zara Nelsova, in those days, which male chauvinist pig atmosphere of the classical music world, received the ultimate accolade that lady cellists received, which is that she played like a man. Whatever men played like. It was, the silliness of that kind of talk is just sort of mind-boggling to us today. Well, maybe not to all of us today. Anyway, she was a splendid cellist, and she did have a firm, virile tone, without a doubt. And this recording of the Dvorak Concerto with Walter Susskind and the St. Louis Symphony is an excellent performance. It's very, very good. It's nicely recorded. It was produced by the legendary Mark Obort and Joanna Nikrens of Elite Recordings in 1974. And these are all recorded in 1974, released in 1975. And you get not only Dvořák's Cello Concerto in a lovely performance, very well integrated with the orchestra. And the sound of the orchestra isn't as huge as, we later like to hear. Everything is on a natural and musical scale. What I mean is the whole performance sings. It really does. And then you get Silent Woods, the other little tiny thing for cello and orchestra, and 3 works for violin and orchestra performed by Ruggiero Ricci, who was also a marvelous musician. You get the Rondo in G minor, the Romance in F minor, which was originally part of a string quartet. She had a lovely separate work, and the Mazurek in E minor, and they're all just nicely done. This is such a refreshing disc to encounter again. And they bring back nostalgic memories for those of us in the classical music record collecting biz, because they originally came out on Vox, or its Voxier budgeter label, Turnabout. These things looked like trash, and they were sold like trash. And I just think it's so funny. Looking at this, I can give you such a terrific idea of what these things were like. You would go to your record store, and in the nice area, you could find Columbia and RCA and Deutsche Grammophon and the European imports, because Universal, the polygram labels, DG and Philips, were imports. Decca didn't exist. It was London was the American division of Decca, and they released the same things with the same cover art, only crappier pressings by and large, but that was still high end. And then there was the budget bin. The budget bin was like in the back or in your supermarket, or where I used to get these things at Grants, the EJ Grants. Remember Grants? EJ Corvettes, pardon me. There was Grants and there was EJ Corvettes. They were what we used to call 5 and dime stores, budget low income stores that had record sections. They sold a little of everything, and they had classical music mixed in with all kinds of other stuff. So you found these things in undifferentiated piles. The good stuff was organized either by catalog number or by composer, so you could find exactly what you were looking for. This stuff was just thrown in a heap, and you raffled through it. And if you had 99 cents or $1.50 or something, you could get a disc that came pressed, it seemed like in sludge with a cheap paper sleeve. It sounded like a shellac 78 when you put it on. It's just awful. And when you think about it, it was such a disservice to the artists, because Nikrens and Obort were wonderful producers. Today, they're legends. absolute legends, and they were working for the as independent contractors for this company that was just releasing junk, and that they whatever they could get their hands on, they didn't really care who did it. And here is the original Dvorak, all the works for solo instrument and orchestra Vox set, the first release in 1975. Look at this. I mean, just look at this. I mean, this is ugly black sleazy cover art, and look at the way it seems kind of, if I do it real close up here, it's like scuffed up and scrunchy around the edges. I mean, that's what it looked like when it was new. You would think that this thing that they obviously has lots of wear and tear. Well, wear and tear was the normal operating standard for Vox, and there were gems in that catalog, absolute gems. And these performances rank among them. And they're interesting, not just because they're fine performances of these Dvorak works, but also because you have Walter Susskind, who was an excellent conductor and who built up the St. Louis Symphony, to the excellent instrument that Leonard Slatkin inherited. And so we get to hear Suskind's recordings as well. He did some good things for Vox. There was the Dvorak stuff. There was Mavlast. He was Czech, by the way. He was born in Prague. There was a very good Holst Planets. There were all kinds of things that Vox had. And so even though we didn't have much money and the sonics and the quality may have been cheap and we were kind of embarrassed to be buying them, we early collectors, and I know some of you will back me up, actually did really well by this label. And this was one of the performances that did well by us. And so I recommend it accordingly. And, we already have a million Dvořák Cello Concertos. It's not like essential, but it's good. It's good, and it's nice to hear it in well remastered sound, given some of the love and attention that it really deserved from the very beginning. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.